Pure Experiences.
Welcome to the Pure Experiences podcasts. Why are there no individual minds? What are the so-called demonic forces? How to protect ourselves from them? How to put spiritual knowledge into practice? What if I fail? Let's discuss these and some more topics.
Hello and welcome to Pure Experiences Satsangs. Today is our Sunday Q&A session once again, and I invite all the questions, doubts, problems, comments, anything that you are confronting these days, anything that you are studying, any comments regarding that, or if you have learned something new and you wish to share that with the group, that also is most welcome. So while we wait for other members to join, or for a real question to appear on which people can comment, we can bring the mind to connect to the higher layers so that the answers appear. Sometimes you will find that we give the answers habitually without thinking. Whatever there is in the memory, we repeat it. And you must have noticed that when I am talking informally like this, when I am not giving you a lecture on some topic which is almost pre-cooked, then I try to divert into some sidelines, margins of the question. What it does is it triggers the connection with the higher layers and pulls out new knowledge. This is one of the trick that I learned, that sometimes it is useful to not stay on topic also. You drift in the landscape of the mind and may get a gem, a diamond nugget somewhere which you never thought before, which was totally unseen by the aware mind. So that's why when talking informally, chit-chatting like this, it is good to let the mind drift a little bit, let it go out of the box, out of the limits, and sometimes it will bring something which is totally insane, it's totally crazy, does not make any sense. So no problem, because the intellect will judge it. If the intellect is also active, then there is no issue because you won't get lost. So the balance is necessary, the balance between imagination and intellect. This is how we pull out the answers from the higher layers. Initially, it may look like that it is the I who is thinking. And you will say, I am thinking like this, and this is from my memory, my knowledge store. And as you drift, you will reach some place in the mind which you cannot say it is yours. It will look like yours. It will look like your memory. It will look like as if you came up with the answer, and only after you look at it after 2 or 3 days, you will see that it was impossible for you to think or to know that answer. This happens to me many times, and I have seen this happen to many of my teachers. They don't stay on a topic for long. If somebody asks them a question, the answer is very simple. Usually the answer is finished in 1 or 2 lines, and they go on and elaborate upon the answer. Sometimes they drift into a story, then connect into something else, then they find a more elegant question that yes, whatever you asked is like this, but let us go further and ask this bigger question. Something like this happens, and then that means a connection is being made to the knowledge store. somewhere high, and then it cannot be said to be my knowledge. You cannot call it my memory. It is the universal memory. It is nobody's memory, yet it is contributed by many. So there is a funny thing that I realized this a little bit during my experiences and such kind of introspection exercises, that what we call as the universal mind, or you can name it anything you want, is actually a group mind. And then I recorded this podcast episode on the group minds. And while I was recording that, many more insights appeared. Many more questions, they were solved. And answers to some puzzles, which I thought was kind of imagination of people, or kind of too far-fetched to be true. It all made sense suddenly, and it was a big revelation simply by talking on the group minds. What was the big revelation? I found that every mind is a group mind. I couldn't find any exception, including this mind, which I call as my mind. It is a big possibility that this is not a single mind. It is a group mind. Now, what is a single mind? What is a group mind? It is hard to define like this. It is hard to draw a boundary where my memory ends and your memory starts. It all makes a lot of sense now that our boundaries of our mind are also the boundaries of our ignorance. That is why it looks like my mind, like a single mind. This is not so. As soon as you drift into the landscape of mind, the mental landscape, you will find there is no hard and fast boundary there. There is no natural boundaries or fences around this mind. It is not there. What has happened is through habituation, through conditioning, this mind accesses only a few areas in the memory. My name, my family, my house, my car, my job, blah, 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 back. Next day, same. Next day, same. You will find that very rarely anything new happens in our lives. Sometimes you may come across a new book, new idea, and there is an expansion of the mind into the territory of the author who has written that book. Sometimes you see a new movie, new visuals appear in your mind. That means you are extended into the mind of the artist, the movie producer who has imagined those things in his mind. So, and there is a way to connect to other minds in this physical world, which is what we call as communication. But because we are habitual of this mode of the waking state of the mind, we do not look into the direct way of accessing the memories of the universal mind. The universal mind is actually defined as a group mind, a collection of all the minds. Now we assume that there are individual minds, and the universal mind is a collection of the individual minds. And that is how I have defined the universal mind everywhere, in my blogs, in whatever I speak, in the videos and all, and whenever I talk to you. This is assumed that the universal mind is a collection of tiny minds, including all the objects and worlds and everything. But when I was thinking about the group minds, it turns out that it is exactly opposite of the definition. Universal mind is all there is, and the individual minds are illusions. You cannot define the universal mind in terms of these tiny independent minds, sea of countless individuals. That will be a very inaccurate definition. But it is practical, so it is going on because that is how we understand the universal mind. Otherwise there is no way to understand it for an ordinary person who has seen only one mind. How are you going to define this sea of memories to that person? So while thinking like this, drifting like this huge revelation happened. And how do we know that this is important? How do we know that I didn't simply imagine these things and then assume them to be true? Just like I said, you need to keep the intellect on when you're drifting. So now, once you have harvested, once you have dug out a gem from this very, very infinite knowledge mine of universal mind, now you need to use the intellect to do the assessment, to do the cross-check. And let me see if yes, the idea is very nice, it is very elegant and beautiful that universal mind is all there is, and that the individual minds are actually, they appear to be there because of our ignorance, because of this habitual nature of this organism, the jeev, to remain within the boundaries that it has created for itself by refusing to look beyond itself. This can be only called as ignorance, nothing else. So it is not a fundamental limitation on the jeev. It is in the state like this in the waking hours. So you use intellect to find out whether this makes any sense or not. So in that podcast episode, I have done that. So if you get time, you listen to it. It all makes sense actually. There is something interesting that you must have heard about these mediums who channel the entities, the disembodied entities. Now, we don't speak about them because obviously for many of you it is beyond your experience. So if you are doing the experiments that I suggested, you will meet them. But some are gifted. They are always in connection with the sea of memories. Now you cannot say other minds because, you see, leave that idea behind now. Get rid of that idea, limited mind. It is always interconnected with everything else. It's a matter of focusing the attention. Some people are gifted like this and they can get hold of the so-called disembodied beings. And there is something interesting that I found in many of the channeled material. Most of it is garbage, but some things, they appear there which are common to almost all of them, is that the entity has no name, or the name is given only for practical purposes. And what does it suggest? It suggests that it is not one. Individuals have names. Sometimes it is it takes on a name because we are so used to names. So that entity will take on a name for you. But the interesting thing about that is that the medium will hear many sounds, many voices, sometimes as if it is many people speaking at the same time, but speaking the same sentence. This is their experience, their direct experience. I have never seen it myself, so I cannot say. But such phenomena now can be explained. Now we have you can say, theory behind these observations. So there are some horror movies which are well researched, and I've seen a few, and sometimes the character that is possessed by demon will speak in voices of many. What does that mean? It means the demon is not a single mind. There is no single personality there. There is no single individual there. It actually looks like 10 or 20 people speaking through that one mouth. It is not simple imagination of the artist or of the writer of that story. So there is an explanation now. It is more possible that this is actual experience of somebody which the writer has researched and incorporated in the story. So there are some reports of exorcism So there are well researched movies that go into exorcism. And let us not take this thing as a fact. So their reports are that usually a weak mind is possessed by other minds, disembodied beings. So usually there is a whole bunch of them who possess the person, not a single one. It is rare that there will be a single entity. That's what I heard. So right now, right here, most of the mind are in contact with many minds without their without their knowledge, which I don't think is that important now, because now I'm not talking about the communication like we are having right now. I'm in contact with you, you are in contact with me through the physical channel. But through the mental channel, we are in contact. So another revelation happened during such introspections. Although there is kind of very difficult to get any kind of evidence for these things. So, and that is that your only protection from the negative kinds, the negative disembodied entities, is to shift into a positive mode and always remain there. That is the only protection. Very logical, isn't it? Because there is no boundary between this mind and that mind, and there is always a contact, and our current thinking is, my mind is isolated. Nobody can know what is there in my mind. And that is the truth of the waking state, not the absolute truth. That is the relative truth, half-truth. In waking state, the other waking mind is engaged in their own activities, their own private memory, personal memory, and this my mind is engaged in this activity, usually because of the senses. The senses are active and senses are localized. So this senses are what that are giving us a feeling of being localized in the body and the world. Otherwise, it's all open. It's all one, non-local mind. So there is no protection from something that is engaged in negativity. You can say an area of the universal mind that is negative in nature. So not an area, it is a happening, because area also points to a space, but this mind is not in space. It is happening right now, right here. The only thing that differentiates one mind from the other is the activity of the mind. For example, all the radio stations are broadcasting right now, but the song that you hear is always from one radio station, because you've tuned it to that radio station. When the radio is tuned, what the radio is doing, those who know the electronics, they will understand that it is filtering out everything else except this one frequency of that station. So if you're listening to 98.3, the electronics and the radio is now resonating with only that frequency, although the antenna is receiving all. And you can say it is focusing of attention on this narrow band, and therefore the experiences of only one radio station, only one song. That is what our mind is doing during the waking state. It is very narrow, very narrowly focused. All the activities of all the minds, now you can say it's all the minds, or you can say universal mind is happening right now, right here. It's non-local. And the time is also not that hard and fast. All the past, future, present, everything is happening here and now. So it's all a matter of not paying attention or not resonating with the negativity, and you will be protected. And your experience in this bunch of memories will remain unaffected by the negativity. From the point of view of the universal mind, you can see it is totally ordinary thing. It has no such preference, no negative, no positive. There's nothing like that in the mind. So realization after realization, you see, your the mantra or your yantra or whatever. It's not going to save you from negativity if there is a negativity in you. This is a big realization. And I researched then here and there, and I found something similar, that nothing works when the negativity goes very, very high. Only thing that works is our own positivity. There is no natural preference for positive or negative in the universal mind. There is a preference for evolving, that's all there is. It is negative, positive, it does not care. It's all one for it. These all man-made things, negative, positive, good and bad, beautiful and ugly, these are all man-made things. So this is what happens when you drift like this in the memory. You will get some new information, and then you use the intellect to verify it, probably. Because this is Maya, so probably there won't be a perfect verification always. There won't be, and the truth won't be evident very clearly, but you can connect the points here and there. So that leads to one more revelation actually, that since there is no good and bad with the universal mind, it is unconditional, nirupeksh, and therefore that explains and the proclivity of certain people to worship so-called negative. There are worshippers of demons also, just like there are worshippers of gods. Why are they called demons? Why are they pictured in an ugly way? This is the doing of those who worship the gods. They have put those icons there. They do not like them. That's all. And now you can use intellect to find out what is really happening here in our human society. It does not really matter actually. But when one culture attacks the other culture, what do? First thing to do is demonize them. They paint them in a negative picture. Now it doesn't matter how good these attacked people are. And the first thing they will do is paint them as inferior. The propaganda is these people are inferior. They are demons. They are not of our religion. And look at their gods, they are praying to demons. So, these Middle Eastern attackers, they did the same thing to Indians. And then the British also did the same thing. So, demonized everything in India, including their temples, their gods and all. And that gives them advantage. And that gives them license to kill these demons. So, let us kill them. They're negative. They're not of our type. They do not worship my God. So, I am now free to kill them. My God will support me in killing them. So the Spanish did this to South Americans. It is the same story everywhere actually. Same story. So this is the first thing any tribe will do in order to overpower the other tribe. So the cults that started worshipping something else, not the gods that were recommended, that were enforced upon the public by the so-called priests and ruling class, they were demonized. Now nobody knows if they are real demons or not. I don't think there is such a thing. There is both positive and negative in every mind, including this mind, which I call my mind, and it must be your own experience. Sometimes it is devilish, very evil mind. Sometimes very innocent, like a child, very, very pure and loving. Same mind. As you know, there is no such a thing as a mind. The activity of the mind is the mind itself. No activity, no mind. This mind is the demon. This mind is the God. Another revelation. Those people who are worshipping so-called demons are not worshipping demons. Suddenly you are free from the conditioning, you see. Suddenly you are free from the brainwashing of the attackers, the ruling class, of the priest class, who want to keep you under their claws for whatever reason, you see. If somebody tells you, look, this is demonic, don't worship, don't go there. Now, if you have nothing to do with spiritual matters, you don't go there. That will be good for you. But if you are a spiritual seeker, put a big question mark on that. Why did you call that demon? Why are you demonizing something which somebody is loving? Somebody is, it is ideal for them. Let us not generalize it like this, that yes, everything that people say is bad. It can be good. No, it is not like this. Most of the time, if somebody says it is bad, it is evil, you need to take some precaution. Do not simply put a question mark and go ahead and, hug the person tantric who is doing those kind of experiments. No, that will be stupidity. But also do not believe blindly. Seeing the nature of the mind, and seeing how humans, the human organism functions. The human organism is alive because of the deceit and lies only, because of the violence only. It is very hard to survive without such tricks. They help in survival. That's why most of the people are full of lies and deceits, and they are being deceived by somebody also without their knowing. So only a spiritual seeker who is after truth knows these things and is freed from these things. This is the freedom from the conditioning. This is the freedom from the society. So introspecting in this way will give you freedom from your beliefs. Now I've taken a very strange example of this thing, possessions and exorcism and demons and group minds. But you can see how this introspection goes. I don't even remember from which subject I started, but this. Don't worry about the demons and the bad, evil entities. If you look into our own culture, the Indian culture, some deities are terrifying. They look like demons. To an outsider, they will be terrified. They will run away if they look at some of our deities. So, Kali is a good example. Chamundi, Durga, they are fierce. You cannot call them goddesses. So, this is just brainwashing, isn't it? So many big saints in India were worshippers of Kali and such goddesses. Now, there is a very fine line between Kali and Shakini and Dakini and all those other so-called demons. And some tantrics are actually after them. They are worshipping them. Where is the line? I don't see any. All the negative and positive is cooked up by humans. What is this universal mind? Why does it has, no positive, no negative? Why it allows the so-called evil, so-called demons? Why won't it simply, smite them, just kill them? Now you have the answers, isn't it? It is our own ignorance. Now I'm not saying that there is no evil, there is no bad, there is, but it is not always that which we are fed. You need to determine your own good and evil. So I don't know, I have a little bit of soft corner for those deities who got demonized by the attackers. They have done this to their own cultures, you see. In the old times, the witches and all those people were burnt alive because they worship something which they thought is evil. So this brainwashing is prevalent in all the parts of the world. I'm not saying only in India. It is there in every culture. Anything that managed to get into the realms of the universal mind, you will find this kind of distinction in good and bad. And now, what is the meaning of protecting yourself from the evil? It hardly means anything, isn't it? Now, let us not go there because it is becoming really a grey area now. So before the people will start calling me tantric and demon worshipper, I should stop here. So I have seen the gods of, let us say, South American, Mayan, Aztec, such people almost look like demons to us. They don't look this pretty. But I have seen some reactions of foreigners to the statues of Ganesh, for example. They're scared by that statue. It looks very beautiful to us. Actually, I had the pleasure of meeting some people as soon as I put a picture of some Indian deity, they would start feeling uncomfortable because they come from that part of the world where Hinduism is demonized. They do not like. Their generations after generations were brainwashed into thinking the other cultures, they worship demons. You are superior because you worship my God. This God is the true God. And so on. Now, being a spiritual seeker this is very sad. When I see this thing, it is very, very sad. But what can we do? All we can do is remain free from this conditioning. Somebody tells them this is bad, this is good. Don't simply assume it to be true. I'm not saying that go and experiment with the evil. Do not even experiment with the good. You don't know how good that is. You don't know that. And that's why whenever I mention about any occult experiment, I say, do not do this without a master. Do not venture into occult without a guru. The guru found out what is good, what is bad. There is a long tradition behind the guru who has done these experiments since thousands of years. They know where to go. So hopefully this aimless drifting has given you new ideas which I don't think you will find in any book. All books are biased books. All views, opinions are biased opinions. There is a tiny bit that is based on experimentation. Yes, there are many paths, but they are all called isms of some kind, but they all merge into oneness, not two. Those who know not to, they don't worship anything. They don't follow any isms. They may study them, but they don't commit themselves to orthodox or fundamentalism. So a spiritual seeker is like this. Learns from everybody, but straight, like an arrow, will head to the truth. What is the truth? Everybody who searches the truth, they are not going to find different kind of truth. It is only one. If it is many, that means it is not true. And that's why these religions and philosophies, they are not true. They are half-truths. They are like various parts of the elephant, you can say, where the blind people are trying to find what is this thing. Nobody has a full view. So a seeker will head for the truth. He wants to know what is this elephant. He is not happy with the trunk or the leg or the tail or the ears of the elephant. So when everybody does this, what will they find? They are not going to find the parts. They are going to find the elephant, which is one. That one is called Sanatana Dharma. It is not Indian. It is not African, Egyptian, this or that. No. It is universal. Because in every part of this universe, when a seeker has tried to find the truth, they have found the Sanatana Dharma, which is Sanskrit for eternal truth. That's all it means. It should not be equated with the religion, which are very narrow and concerned with worship, materialistic in nature. Why are people worshipping these gods? They want something from them, security or wealth, more children, more cows, more power, so on. I've never seen anybody who worships a god for truth. A spiritual seeker does that and therefore finds the truth, and then he is above all. When such a person is ascended to the highest level, these gods that people worship, they come to him for knowledge, for liberation, for mukti. Now, I'm not saying this, I did not make it up. It is all there in the stories. Now, who will tell these blind people, look at the stories, look at the stories. They worship the guru who is capable of liberating you, who is capable of destroying the darkness of ignorance. There is nothing more higher than this guru. I am not saying this. Again, you will find so many big people. We are tiny-whiny compared to them. Everybody has placed guru in front of everything. Do you see in this culture people worshipping gurus? Yes, there are. How do they worship them? Just like a god. Give me this, give me that, protect me and do something for me, do some magic for me. Is there anybody who goes to the guru and asks for knowledge? Almost zero. So anyhow, this is my impression. Probably you have more experience, and everybody knows these things through their experiences. But it is very, very interesting, because in these half-truths, you will find gems of knowledge. You will find some knowledge there. It's not totally useless. What is the problem? People stick there. They become fundamentalist. They become extremists, and their progress is stopped. So I'm not saying everybody is like this, but there are people whose progress is totally halted because of blind beliefs, because they're brought up in this environment. And the parents think they are doing a great service by educating the child, by indoctrination of the child. They think, I'm doing my job here, job of the parent. It's very rare for you will never find this thing, very rare for the parents to educate the child in all the religions. Very rare. What most of them do, and they will say, oh, look, my religion, which we are, your parents, is the only true one, is the best one on this planet. And the others, they are demons. Don't mix with them. And so on. This is what happens. And there is hardly any parent who will say, go and join the other religion, go and study them also. Personally, I've never seen, including my parents. Although they did not force their beliefs on me, they were educated enough. So, but whenever I took no interest in their celebrations, their festivals and their pujas and all, I got this scolding. You know, the Nastik word is like a bad word in India. Ye to Nastik hai, which means he's a bad guy now. For a person of a grown-up intellect, very difficult to do all this bullshit, isn't it? Very difficult to be a part of the crowd. So ultimately, you will need to adjust somehow with the ignorance. And that is what I have done. Now I have no complaints, because I can see why this is happening. I can see the reason for it. So at least a religious person is a good person, you see. At least we think like this. He's a bad person only when he's killing the fellow of other religion. Otherwise, they are very good to their own kind. And at least they are getting a little bit of indoctrination. What is good and what is bad. Instead of totally zero. Instead of being brought up like an animal. So probably that is the status of our society nowadays. And I see no solution to this. There is no solution to this. There will be brainwashed people and there will be free people. This was like this since thousands of years in all the yugas. And this will be like this forever. No solution. At the time of Krishna or Ram, there were demons. We are in total dark ages. So imagine what has happened to this. What has happened to the truth? When I say true, most of the people will call me crazy. This has happened. When I say that you are wrong, most of the people are ready to kill me. Serving the truth is now costing you lives. Can you imagine? Now this is not something new. This is in all the ages, throughout the history, the known history, the unknown history, the prehistory and the not so history. It is the same thing. And that's why I hear it from many people that there is nothing new under the sun. If you think this is the new phenomena, this is the state of the society which is now, which you will find the old people saying like this, oh, in our time it was so good and now, well, their time was also this only. It's not going to change. I've seen many wise people say this. Whatever we think is new in comparison to our knowledge, not from the point of view of the universal mind. And now we know that this mind is not really a mind, not an individual mind. Forgetfulness makes it new, because you have forgotten. This is new. People will say, no, these computers are new, these airplanes are new, these language is new, and so on. And this is not really new. It is a variation, at most you can say. It is a variation of what has already happened many, many times, infinite number of times. The same thing has happened. Now, frankly, I'm not very confident about this, because not my experience, but there is a law of the mind that the smaller is a low resolution image of the bigger. In the Hermeticism, they say, and as above, so below, and as below, so above. So you can take a slice of the time and check what is happening, and you can then extend it. Because this law is always true, then you will get a kind of verification that this is true. That the same things keep appearing. So all the sages say this. Time is a cyclic time. It repeats. And there is a very well-known saying that history repeats itself. It was not made up by crazy people like us. Great people have said this. So why is that? Because of the processes in the universal mind. They are repetitive processes. They repeat. There is one very good example, actually, which those who are scientific-minded will like it. That we think that the single-cell organisms and the fish and then reptiles and then the amphibians, reptiles and birds, flight suddenly. You see, it looks like as if life started from the water, depths of the water, then land, and then air. Is it true? Probably. This is one of the branch of the life. But you see, there are fish that can fly. There are insects that can fly. There are mammals that can fly. There were reptiles that could fly. They're extinct now. Flying dinosaurs. So on. So same thing repeated during the evolutionary cycles in different ways. Same design repeated itself. This is universal mind. We are witnessing the evolution of the universal mind only. And this will happen in every corner of the universe. Okay, I think Ajay has said something, so I'll read that. Once intellectually truth is grasped, then acting from and that knowledge is a challenge because of the habitual patterns and acting from ignorance. How to act from the knowledge instead of habitual ignorance? A very good question, actually. The answer is only one. It is awareness. Since you have grasped it intellectually, whenever you act, you bring this understanding in the mind. You remember this. And if there is awareness, you can make a choice. A habit can be overridden by another habit. Habits do not die off. You will need to substitute it with something else. As long as there is acting, it will come from memory. And now it is coming from the old memory. You need to choose and let the action happen from the knowledge, whatever is intellectual knowledge, your knowledge. And you will get the verification of it when you practice like this. The intellectual will become real. By real, I mean there will be a practical example of it in front of you. No more intellectual only. So awareness is the key. Whenever you are acting, train your mind to become aware. Look, I'm going to act from habit now, and switch the action to something else which you think is the right action. For example, we are usually in this habit of thinking negative about those whom we don't like, those who have caused some kind of harm to us or to somebody else, something else. And as soon as we remember these people, and the mind is very strange thing, it will bring up these negative people always. You don't remember the good ones. The mind will keep bringing up the negative ones. And then there will be a story that follows this memory. So bad, and I'll do this and I'll do that. And this is habitual thinking. And you have the intellectual knowledge now that mind is like this, like it's like a machine, and it is causing suffering. Or most of the suffering is in the form of thoughts. So you can bring your awareness like this, remember the intellectual knowledge, and put it into practice. In this case, the practice will be to stop the story, recognize that it is only a story made up by the mind, recognize that these people are only in the memory, they are not in front of me. And then because of this awareness, it will stop. When I say it, it looks like it is a long procedure. But in my experience, it takes less than 1 second to do that, to remember. And yes, you will fail many, many times till the new habit takes over the old one. The new habit is whenever mind starts doing something like this, it will itself be reminded and itself will terminate. So if you do it, it will stop the habit. Now this is happening totally in the mind, so easy. But let us say there is some habit of the body, like smoking or drinking or something like this. Again, awareness. And this time it is going to take a longer time. So I'll give you my own example that I got habitual of drinking coffee, too much coffee. And somehow the body was changing because of the practices. And the body produced suffering. It did not agree with that coffee. So I tried to reduce it, remove the milk from it, thinking that the milk is the problem. No, the same problem. And then I cut the sugar out of the coffee, the same problem. It was the coffee that was the problem. Then I removed the coffee also, and now the green tea or something like this, and it has adapted to it. So slowly you will get away from that which is harmful, that which is causing suffering, slowly. Okay, Ajay is saying, as I failed many times, but once the knowledge is grasped, it is hard to keep on acting from the previous beliefs. Every task that we take up, which involves some kind of change, looks hard in the beginning. Now you can recall your experience of riding the bicycle. Very, very hard. So many times we fell. But once we learned the balance, it became a natural thing. Now without thinking we can ride. Same thing when we learn a new language. So hard. It takes a lot of effort to switch to the other language when we are learning that language. So it's always hard. Whenever the mind is to be changed, it will be hard to change it initially. But if you keep doing it, that is why it is called a practice. That is why it is called sadhana or tapasya, because it is hard. Now, if you don't do it because it is hard, then it will never happen. It will remain the same mind which it is. Even if you do it very slowly, if you're progressing just a centimeter every day, still there is a hope that you will reach there. But if you don't even start somewhere, then no, there is no hope. So there is a good saying, or it is a quote from somewhere that I heard, that a slow progress is better than no progress. It does not matter as long as you are moving. As soon as you stop, well, you're back to the square one. No amount of intellectual knowledge will substitute for practice. But fortunately, the practice is very simple. Involves bringing the awareness that this is mind, this is me. Separate the two. Now look at the mind and switch to the other choice, if you have the other choice. Now consider yourself very, very fortunate, because most of the people don't have the other choice. They do it as if that is the only choice they have. Or some people will further delude themselves. It is my choice, it is my free will, and that's why I'm doing this. You see, the cigarette is controlling them, and they say, "This is my free will. I'll stop whenever I want," and so on. Or their negativity, jealousy, or anger is controlling them, and they say, "Oh, it is the injustice that I am fighting for, and I have the right to be angry." And what is the truth? The truth is mechanical action is happening in the mind. The ego comes and takes responsibility of it, owns it. It is mine. I'm thinking it, and I'm free to think it. Therefore, I'm thinking it. So you can see the joke here. The mind itself deludes itself. So you cannot change the mind from the mind. You need to stand one step higher than the mind. On the ladder, on the layers of the mind, you will need to stand on the higher side. Bring on the awareness. Every time there is you are faced with the choice, like, should I act from the old, or should ignorance, or should I act from the new knowledge? Choose the new one, and the mind will not do it. The mind is a machine, you see. It will do that which it is programmed to do, which is its habit. Habit is nothing, a program only. Some impression on the memory, and the actions happen through that. So you will need to be above the memory. You will need to be above mind in order to have some control on the mind. Now, what happens is awareness also does not do anything. Awareness simply illuminates the other choice. It illuminates the other choice. Then sometimes the mind will take the other choice. And if the fruits, if the results of that other choice are favorable, then the mind will keep doing it. Otherwise not. Initially, you may find that the fruits of the new choice they look like negative. And that's why this failure happens. Oh, no, this is too much. I'll go back to my old thing. And I've seen this so much actually. I'm talking from my own experience. It is still happening to me. You see, we are all here. We are not free from the world. What does it mean? It means that the total control is still not there. It will prefer the old for some time till the fruits of the new manifest. And then here a little bit of faith comes. Have some faith on the new. Those who don't have faith should have a mind of a scientist. Let me see. I need to experiment like this. So these little life experiments, you need to do it again and again and again. Now once in a while you do the old also, and immediately you can judge your progress. You can see the contrast. Like I'll tell you my example, I got into habitual lying for some reason. Bad company probably. I thought I'm doing it because I'm smart. When I lie, nobody can find out that I'm lying. And I'm doing it because it's my free will. That's what I enjoy. And obviously the mind will enjoy these things. That's why people habitually lie. That's why people are fake. Most of them are fakes. So why? Because mind is trapped into this mechanical action. And there are some short-term advantages in lying. So it keeps doing it. The fruits keep coming. And it keeps ignoring that which is causing suffering. The lying is going to cause a lot of suffering. So keeps ignoring, no, this bad luck, it didn't happen. I'll lie double and then probably I'll cover up everything. Nobody will know. And this is how it was going on. And suddenly I realized the value of speaking truth. Because when you say, I'm the truth seeker, I'm the seeker, and I want to know the truth, and you are talking lies, then it does not compute. The mind can sense something is wrong here. So, and then the experiment started that let me see if I avoid lying as much as possible. And this went on for a few years. And on the occasions where I had to lie, the contrast was huge. Because when you talk true, you forget about it. And no impressions are made on the mind. You must have noticed. The mind is light like air. Like a feather, it remains light. When you have spoken the truth, it is done, it's gone. But lie, even a little tiny bit of lie, it will stick on the mind. It will remain there. And once you have gotten the fruits of telling truth, always speaking truth, your mind will shift to truth, and then it will start seeing lying as a suffering. Previously, it was opposite. So the fruits came later, and I came to know this difference only when I had to lie, or I thought, let me be smart this time and lie again, and then the suffering was too much. It got impressed on the mind. Oh, I lied that day. And you see, for a seeker, the fruits will come very quickly, and something really, really bad would happen whenever I lie. So this is how we switch to acting from knowledge, evolving further. It takes patience, a little bit of faith, a little bit of experimentation, a little bit of intellect. Always compare your old habit with the new one, because always talking true is also a habit. We prefer it, that's all. See, mind is only memory. It is all habits, all programs. There's nothing else there. So what happens is the mind prefers that which gives it more happiness and freedom. That is how it is programmed. And that is how is the, you can say, flow of this universal mind. All the minds prefer happiness and freedom. Or that which they prefer, we call it happiness and freedom. Like in this example, telling truth gives a lot of freedom. Now you're not bound to anything. Now you're not responsible for anything. There are no chains. There are no guilts. There is no worry about bad consequences of what I've done. What is this? Freedom. Now you are in the flow. You are in the flow of the universal mind. So once the mind knows this, now it has become its own experience. It will not go into that which caused bondage, which caused suffering, not only for me, but for others. So it will prefer long-term happiness instead of short-term. It will prefer long-term freedom instead of, and it will say, okay, if it's a short-term suffering, I'll take the short-term suffering instead of long-term bondage. It will do that. The intellect will mature like this. So sometimes you suffer a little bit, like a bitter medicine, but the disease is gone forever. So experiment a little bit, bit by bit. If you think that I'll change into something which is, totally beyond human in one day, it's kind of impossible. So yes, there will be many failures, many failures. And that's why many times I say this. It's my favorite saying, that we are on the spiritual path, not because it is easy, not because it's all, rainbows and pretty butterflies and stuff, red carpet. No, it's not like this. We are on the spiritual path because it is hard, because it is challenging, because nobody does it. That's why we do it. And that's why we have taken the evolution of the mind in our own hands. It takes a little bit of fruit for the mind to accept this challenge. It won't do it till you practice it. So I saw this on the face of the gurus. I saw that they are so confident, so free, although not so happy, but they looked very peaceful. This is how you are motivated, because initially the mind has no idea what this knowledge is going to do. It will actually be afraid of this knowledge. So you will need to take motivation from somebody else in the beginning. Have an ideal, have a guru. Guru is very important. You will see the guru in front of you, and you will see how it has transformed the guru, how these little experiments have transformed him. And then your mind will be convinced, and then it will act without knowing that what will be the fruit of my new action. You see, novelty is terrifying for the ego. It wants to settle in the known instead of venturing into the unknown. This is our evolution, because unknown always meant risk in the old days. Getting out of the house, getting out of the village, and your known territory means instant death in the old times. And this is the conditioning of the mind. It won't take up anything new because fear. And this is also the fear of failure. Oh, it's a waste of time, I'm going to fail. I'm already perfect the way I am. And this will prevent the progress. Just like you, I am not special, I am also struggling. It is a fight. It is everyday fight. It is every minute fight, actually. The seeker looks very peaceful, but a war is going on inside his mind. Nobody will believe this. People come and see me. Oh, you are not troubled by anything. You don't worry about anything, and you are not afraid of anything. They don't know what is going on inside. It is a war inside. The seeker is not free from anger, fear, lust, or jealousy, or expectations, attachments. Not free from that. As long as there is ego, there is body, there is mind, there will be all these things. The only difference between ordinary person, non-spiritual person, and a spiritual person is that the spiritual person is aware of all this mess that is inside us. That is why it is difficult. You see, ignorance is bliss. And the ordinary person in his ignorance has nothing to do. There is nothing going on internally in that mind. There is no struggle. He has assumed already that I am the smartest creature in the world. I am the most beautiful thing that nature has produced, and I am perfect in every way. Whatever he does is his style. Whatever BS he is after is his smartness. His perfect life for them. It is not so perfect for a seeker. We know each and everything that is going on in the mind, and it is, hell there. And that's why many people drop off from this spiritual path, because they encounter themselves. There's no bigger disappointment than this. You think the spiritual path is going to make you like what? Like a child? Like a pure heavenly being, angel? No. If you're not careful, it will make you, it can turn you into a crazy person. Because shows everything there is in the mind. Shows how dark the mind is. The awareness will bring everything into light. Yes, it will bring the good parts also. It will bring up the good parts also. And it will bring up the bad also. Now, you are obviously not going to worry about the good. It's good. Everything is okay there. The bad is going to trouble you. The demon is inside us. There is no demon outside. It is just a state of mind. So we know it is there. And that's why there is this war going on in the mind of the seeker. It is a battlefield. And the truth is, there will be less peace in your mind compared to before. Although it is only an illusion. A seeker will never want to go back to that peace. The peace of darkness will never want to go back there. He is going to accept the mess that is there, that's happening in the mind, will not go back. You can try. Yes, I'll go back to my previous ignorant lifestyle. All the attachments, bondages, ignorance and habitual behavior like a robot, zombie. And you won't be able to stay there for more than 2 days. It is, guaranteed. No. Because once it is seen, it is seen. It is done. That's why sometimes I jokingly say that now I have told you what you are. Now it is not my responsibility what is going to happen in your life. Now I'm running away. Now it is your mess. Because I know it feels very, very nice. I am Atman and I am Brahman and so on. Wow, everything. It's very freeing knowledge. It is your direct experience. It's not a belief. So very certain knowledge. And then the real thing appears after a few days. Well, I am everything, then why is there suffering? Why is there suffering in the world also? Because initially the mind is going to reject whatever is inside. You see, it will look at, it is habitual of looking outside. So, it looks so shiny from your Advait point of view, but look at the world. It's a mess, it's a hell. So it will see the problems outside initially, and then the body will come in the way. oh no, this is, the body demands food, demands this, demands that, it needs to sleep, it gets tired, gets diseased, you need to clean it, there is lust. Now suddenly you're fighting the body. Why won't it stop doing this thing? The habits of the body. Then you say, okay, it is a part of the mother nature, let it do. There is ego then. Now ego is the greatest hurdle for any seeker. And this must be your own experience. Body can be tamed. The world, you can arrange things so that it does not trouble you too much. You see, if you remain okay, peaceful and friendly with everybody, it's okay. It's not going to trouble you. The body can be tamed a little bit. Body is a robot, so can be. When you encounter the ego, then this question will come. Then this failure will happen. Because ego is about survival. And survival is the greatest force in the universe. Good luck trying to control that. This kind of looks impossible. And therefore, the liberation is ending the ego. Death of the ego is defined as liberation. There's nothing more to achieve here. Nothing more. And that too, the ego is not going to die. It will go only when the body goes. And that's why not taking another birth is a part of the liberation. See, everything makes so much sense. Otherwise, this experience will continue like this. It's not a big trouble for the experiencer, which you can see right now, right here. It's all good for the experiencer. It's all play. But we slip from there also and we come to the mind, which we obviously call intellect. From the point of view of the intellect, is not good. The intellect wants liberation from all this. It wants only the good experiences. And there is the preference there. So in a fully liberated mind, this preference is also gone. And then now it is no more an individual mind. It is this vast sea of memories where there is no preference. Nothing is good. Nothing is bad. Everything is good and everything is bad also. It has become a copy of the experiencer itself. It is truly reflecting the Atman, the oneness, the consciousness, the pure consciousness. It is empty. This is the whole of the liberation thing. Now, the funny thing is, you see, the mind twister is that we are free right now, right here also. It is like this also. And just like, we started from this topic only, that the limitations, the preferences are acquired accumulations of the mind. This accumulation is what is known as karma. This set of preferences, tendencies, they are known as karma or sanskar, because happened through our own actions, happened through the individuation process of the universal mind. Now remember that it's not my bondage. It is just happening. It is not my suffering. It just appears so. Right now, right here, it's not there. Right now, right here, the awareness is completely reflecting that which is. What is there is ignorance in the mind. It cannot look at all these things and think about it in a coherent way. Sometimes this, sometimes that, sometimes this, sometimes. And this is how it is, lost in these thoughts. Not thinking is the Zen. This is what Bodhidharma said, isn't it? He was not talking about the thinking about your laundry or your shopping list or what to watch on TV. No, not that kind of thoughts. For ordinary people, those thoughts are the only thoughts there in their life, isn't it? For a seeker, the thought means something else. It is the thought that I am bound. It is the thought that I am suffering. I am, me. Behind every thought there is I. You must have noticed. Not thinking is the Zen mind. Not thinking is the way. It's already there. The freedom is already there. Only forgetting is also there. You see. Remember, and it will be taken care of. So I know it's kind of, we are at the bottom, so we don't see the full picture. Remember, this is not going to last. Human life is like a flash in the pan, like a broken star. Have you seen the shine for a split second gone? The fallen stars. This is how long a human life is. It looks like, I need to live for so many years in this suffering, this human existence. It is a suffering because of our own doing, isn't it? It's our own doing. No, I'm good, the society is bad, the world is bad. It is also you. There are no boundaries there. There is this, just like there is this individual karma, there is this tribal karma. Once you are free from the individual karma, you will face this big wall of tribal karma. There's no escape from these things. So don't worry, it's a big battle. It's a long one. Therefore, it takes many lives. Get the big picture. Once you accept that it's not 1 or 2 days work, you will become peaceful. Otherwise, you will be in a hurry to fix everything. Oh, my mind does not do this, my mind does. Well, you have scratched the surface of the mind there. And obviously, it won't do that, which you want. It's like Mount Everest. You have scratched a little stone there. You want to fix the little stone. It won't budge. It is already 100 kg. Now look at the Mount Everest. Is it even possible? So I was like this, I wanted to finish all this karmic stuff and liberation, life and death in 6 months. Made a timetable. I'm going to fix it in 6 months. Because this is how the smart people are, you see. So I'll manage it. And you see, many years have passed. I've stopped counting actually. It's a slow progress. As soon as I fix something, there's something bigger that is standing in the way. Remember, we are not helpless. There is always help. Even if you don't have a living guru, there is help. You need to ask for help. That is the problem. Nobody will ask for help. They will think it is crazy, Now, what is the difference between asking for help and praying to this and that invisible God? There is a difference. If you ask for a new car or a new girlfriend, or the gods are useful for that. And may happen, may not happen, you see. Depends on the God. When you ask for liberation, it is guaranteed that you will get the help. Now, it may not look like help. That is, I need to warn you for that. Because spiritual path is not simple. What you think is good may not be good. What you think is bad may not be bad. Sometimes it is exactly that. But it will be like this. You ask for freedom from addictions. Suddenly next day you will wake up with stomach pain. Oh, I asked for happiness, and what is this? You see, you will feel it, that you will know this is not your doing. Nothing material is involved here. You will feel that when you get such kind of help. It will be mysterious kind of help. Then you will see it is because drinking excess coffee, I'm just giving my example again. Now you have no choice but to leave that habit because immense pain. You see, the digestion is gone now, thrown out of the window. You have no choice. The mind has no choice. The pain has been made so intense that the mind gives up. Oh, okay, now I understood why it is there. And now you're freed from that habit. Sometimes the help will come like this, and the mind, the ego will always interpret it in this way. You say that I don't want this bondage of relations. My life is not to be defined by people from this moment. And probably, suddenly nothing will happen because the body can be controlled suddenly, but because other minds are involved, other people are involved, their will is involved, so nothing will happen suddenly. But after 2 or 3 years, you will find there are quarrels, there are now people who loved you will betray you and so on. Suddenly there will be dislike for your friends and all will leave you. Now you will sit and cry. Why people are like this? Why they left me? Why I had to leave many, This will also happen. Because by now you have forgotten your wish, the help that you asked. Since it was for liberation, it will happen. It's guaranteed. So you should remember, be careful what you ask for because you will get it. What people ask for, they ask for stupid things. Make me king, make me president of India and so on. These things are not given. Have you seen? Never happens. hope is always there. It will never happen. As soon as you ask for liberation from the world, from the illusion, from the ignorance, it is a guarantee that it will happen. The universal mind, the flow of the universal mind is such that it will put you on that path as soon as you wish for it. The wishing also is a universal event. It is not my wish, really. The time is ripe. So the fruit is now big enough to be taken out, to be harvested. So very interesting, because I've heard this concept of harvesting from some seekers, that there after many years there are these cycles of harvesting. The minds that are ripe enough, they are taken out of this illusion, the Maya, the virtual reality, they are taken out of it. This is also almost mechanically it happens, you see. The liberation or the enlightenment, or it is not in hands of anybody. The government cannot start a project, Department of Enlightenment. It's impossible. It will happen like seasons. If it rains, it rains. No, there is no department there to make it rain. It is a natural process, the ripening. So in my blogs, I'm calling it ripening. A guru is a result of ripening. His guru has not done anything. Nobody has done anything. So even if you don't ask for help, it will happen. The only thing is, it will be slow. As soon as you are asking for help, that means it is time. The time is right now for ripening. And then your life is going to become hell, you see. So hopefully I did not drift too much from the topic. And as you can see, these matters are not so simple. The matters of the mind are not simple. Everything is so complex and interconnected that I can go on talking like this, revealing to you one link after the other that is in the mind. You are thinking that you are failing in 1 or 2 habits. It is tiny thing. Look at the Mount Everest that you will need to climb. That will put everything in perspective. Now your big problem is a small problem, isn't it? It's very small. So go ahead, face it. Walk on the path because it is difficult. Do not expect easy things here. Mind will say many times, let's go back. You can go back. It's not a big issue. You won't be able to stay back. You'll bounce back on the path. That's why, I have said this many times, that we do not choose the path. The path will choose you.
Pure experiences.
You were listening to Pure Experiences by Tharun Pradhan.